Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Blog Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's February 26, 2022. Welcome to Zambia Blog Talk Radio. This is one of the most anticipated shows for this year. You can tell from my title, it's this way, Icupo Ne Nganda, which simply means, I believe, family, marriage and family life. We shall hear from the different languages as we go along. Good afternoon, Zambia. We started a little bit late today due to certain things beyond our control. Hello, Europe. Good evening, the Western Pacific. I know you haven't yet gone to bed. You're waiting on this blockbuster show. Let me welcome my colleagues here. And hey, Roger, minus what? Tell me about that minus what?
It's just -2 today. We are wearing t-shirts.
You're wearing t-shirts?
Yeah, just -2.
Okay, excellent, excellent. How's Canada?
Canada is well, my brother, waiting for this blockbuster show.
I know this is a blockbuster. Let's go to Lusaka, Zambia. Hi, Kasuluba.
Hi, Uncle Nathan. Hi,
How is it
Roger.
going down there? Raining? What's going on in the capital?
It rained a bit today, actually. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just slightly, but the weather is cool. It's not hot. So yeah, it's enjoyable.
It's enjoyable.
Yes.
All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm looking forward to this blockbuster of discussion we have.
It's meant for you, young man.
It's meant for you, actually.
Definitely.
Because there seems to be a gap in what is happening when we were growing up, Roger, and what these guys are doing today.
No, we really need such.
We really need this. All right. Today, we are going to delve into things that normally people, they just talk about behind closed doors and stuff like that and all those kind of things. Our topic is Icupo Ne Nganda, marriage and family life. Our guest will tell us whether that's the correct English translation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome the one and only legendary, my wonderful auntie, Sylvia Litana Robertson. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning. Is that the right English translation, marriage and family life?
Well, if you're going to transfer from the vernacular, it doesn't make no sense.
Uh-huh.
So you have to approximate it as close as you can get it, so that when you're translating it and the person listening to that translation, it makes sense. Icupo, of course, means marriage, and Nganda means home. So yes, you are right. It's your marriage and your home. Now remember, there's a difference between a home and a house.
Yes, yes.
So this one is your marriage and your family life, like you said, / home life.
Okay. Yeah, we're already into it. Thank you for joining us. Everybody share the link. Tell your friends the blockbuster long-awaited discussion is on. And we are going, you see, the purpose we are doing this is, Auntie Sylvia, a lot of us have lived away from home for a long time. And there is one thing I recognize that we are not paying attention to. Our kids are no longer 3-4 years old. They are graduating from college. They're becoming independent. Very soon they will come back and say, oh, Daddy, this is the gentleman. Now as we may all know, Roger, when we're growing up, that's not how you do it. You don't go home and say, Daddy, this is the. So we want to revisit this. Some of us have lived away from home for a long time. We've even forgotten the simple steps or procedures that are supposed to be done when it comes to issues to do with marriage, family life, and all those kind of things. So in the Zambian term or context, Auntie Sylvia, if we may begin there, when it comes to issues to do with marriage and family, there are two important personalities, if I may use that word, or characters who are key players in the process. We're going to be using Bemba terminology because it's the most commonly used. I did ask my Tonga friends, Roger and Lozi friends, to give me the equivalence of these two terminologies. This is my first question to you, Auntie Sylvia. Vana Chimbusa and Vashibukombe. So please explain what those two terms mean, who they are, and what their role is.
Sure, it's a pleasure, Roger. It's beautiful seeing you again. Happy New Year! I haven't seen you.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'm surprised you are in California. I say she's supposed to be here with me.
No. That -2 degrees is detriment to my health.
I know, right?
Yes, thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure seeing you. I will try to stick to English as much as possible. And the reason I'm going to do that is the last show I did with the ladies from Atlanta, I got quite a lot of flack from the Americans and all those other people who don't understand, of course, our language or our languages from Zambia. So if I use a vernacular term, allow me to please translate it into English. And if I forget, can one of you remind me? Because what ended up happening is after we had that long talk, a lot of people got a lot of interest and they've been still calling me and texting me about some of the terminology that was used because they said they have never heard such a program before and they were very interested in learning as well. So we should not only gear it for our Zambian audience, but we should gear it internationally. So with that being said, yes, the term Banachimbusa is it's a term of endearment, which is actually quantifying or signifying the relevance of a person like myself. This is a woman or an elderly person. Some of them are even young. I started pretty young doing this. I think maybe I was in my 25, 26, around there. Okay. Because the people that my mom used to hang around with, a lot of times this is what they did for a living. They would educate young ladies and, of course, teach us the right things of how to grow up to be a young model citizen, especially a young lady. And, you know, coming from Africa, we are always as young ladies groomed to be always looking forward to being married and being somebody's wife.
Yes.
Bana Chimbusa is a woman who is allegedly, I'm going to use the word allegedly, has wisdom, marital wisdom from the ancient times to current. So my job as Bana Chimbusa is to teach and train and sometimes even correct the young maidens. And sometimes I cross over and I go to the young lads as well. Because we do have some young lads too who step out of line and they don't know what's going on or what they're doing. So I gingerly come in and take them back and bring them back, because without these corrections, this is why you're seeing that there's so many issues in our marriages. And I'm going to say ours, not only for our children, but even us as adults. Yes. Because like you said, we've strayed away from the culture. Vashibukombe. Oh, by the way, you also have Vashchimbusa, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes, there's I think that's what they've translated into Vashibukombe. In those olden days, they used to call them Vashchimbusa as well, but I guess it's translated into Vashibukombe. The men as well have the equivalence of a female who would teach them and train them the same things that I would do to the young maidens that are becoming of age and the young maidens who are about to get married. Now, we always teach you or train you to say, when we get you married or when we marry you off, so to speak, whichever the right terminology is, when you have issues at home, don't go to mom, don't go to dad, call me, because I will always be neutral. Okay. Now, when you go to mom and dad, guess what? They take sides. And before you know it, you go back and make up with your spouse and your mom and dad are still mad at your husband or your wife. I mean, how does that look? So that is my role as Bana Chimbusa.
Wow. You know, interesting that you say that. And before we started the show, Auntie Silva, we were talking about we'll flow. We won't stick to the script. You see,
We
I'm
can't.
glad you did that. And you mentioned something important to say. Don't go to your mom or to your dad. Go to Vanachimbusa or Vashchimbusa. That's a very important thing, because when we do that, like you've said, that's a very important point. Your parents will forever be mad with your spouse and everything else. Now, let me go this way. There is this thing going on. There's a cry to say so much time is invested into preparing a young lady for family life and for marriage, as what is happening with the young lads. What is being done to redress that, and how can we balance that situation? What is going on there?
You know, this has been a thorn in my side for the past 30, 35 years. I did, when I moved to the United States, I'm not going to say how many years ago, but many, many years ago, many moons ago, we used to have about three Bashibukombo or three Bashichimbusas who were based in the United States. And anytime that there was a bride that came up and said she was about to get married or she's been proposed to, then it was my responsibility to direct that young man or the young lad to the men, or I would call the Washichimbus and tell them, I'm sending you a young lad for you to talk to.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, should I say that, I'm going to use the word unfortunately loosely, not that it's a bad thing, but depending on how you look at it after I have made my explanation. As young ladies, from the get-go, when you are a little girl, the minute you can walk, you can talk, you can crawl, the first thing you find yourself doing is being a mommy to your doll, right? You take your doll and even if the doll is not crying, it's just a natural thing of that maternal instinct kicks in from the time, you realize you're feminine, you're female. So we are groomed to say, no matter what happens, you have to get married. And even if those words are not said to you, it's something I think that is innate in us. It's born in us. I would like to use that terminology. Not that I'm a doctor or a scientist. No, far from that. But I'm just saying from the experience, the 40 years of experience I've had doing what I do. So when we start grooming the women, naturally in Zambia, and let me specify, this is only for Zambia, where I grew up. I've seen a little bit of it in Zimbabwe as well, because I'm partially Zimbabwe, and I've seen a little bit of it in DRC. I'm partially DRCan as well. But let me specifically address Zambia. When we are growing up as young girls, the first thing, of course, like I said, the mothers will always tell you, you grow up, you get married, and of course, everybody wants a princess dress and blah, 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 blah. So because in the olden days, our men used to go to work and the women stayed home. Okay. So in other words, they were looking at it from this perspective and saying, you are home all day, so you should make the home work for him when he comes home. He's tired. He's been whatever he does, whether he's in the office, he's a laborer, he's a cook, he's a shoemaker, whatever the job was, didn't matter. Yes. So when you come home, when your husband comes home to you as a wife, you should be able to appease and to bring him down from that high of either having had a bad day at work, or even if it was a good day, you just join into that good day for him. He should find a hot meal. He should find a hot bath. House should be clean. Clothes should be clean and things like that. But in today's age, fortunately, like I said, I'm using that word again loosely, fortunately or unfortunately, both of us now work.
That's right.
So times have changed quite a bit. And now we find that both mom and dad are putting in 50-50, or is it 100%, 100%, in being a parent or in being a partner in the wife. So the men still have it very easy. They still have it very, very easy, in that everything that we are groomed, or everything that I groom the ladies to do or to be, is to satisfy the husband so that you husbands don't stray. But sometimes, even after all this teaching, because man is just man, you find yourself straying. But we try our level best to train our ladies so that the husbands do not find no fault, or what I would call a blemish in their lifestyle or in their lives as a wife to them.
But that's unfair, Auntie Sylvia, because why should you only prepare one partner for the other one not to stray and not prepare people for a purpose of living a life of fulfillment and, you know, being there for each other?
No, all that is
Why
in there.
don't we have a system of where a man is also trained from the beginning to say, look, the woman is not your toy, she's your partner.
Yes, I agree and totally agree. I'm in full support of you. This is why when I started, I said we used to have both men and women, but our older men have slacked off, saying, even when we're training these boys, they're talking back. They're challenging the older people because that was what you did in your days. This is what we're doing in our days. You see what I'm saying? Now, let me give you an example, Pastor, right now. I send you a young man. I send you a young man who wants to get married. And you are teaching him everything. The women are a little bit more submissive than the men are, to be quite honest, because I've talked to quite a few men myself, not in the 20,000s, but in the 1990s. Okay.
Yeah.
I did. At that time, they were submissive as well. I mean, they would sit down and they would listen. And sometimes they'll call me and say, Mama, I need to come and just pick your brain. I need to sit with you. I need to come Pansaka so that I've, learned. Pansaka is a place where in Zambia, when the older men or the elders of the village want to deliberate on very important matters, there's a little hut where they sit, and it's closed off to young people and people who are not in the category. So we call it Pansaka, right? So we did used to do that, like I said, in the 90s. But as soon as the 20,000s came in, like I said, I'm not sure what happened. Those Bashichimbusas dropped off because they were saying the young men don't listen. They'll challenge the old man. Well, you're saying I should do this and that, but this is not what we do now. We did that. You did that in the colonial days and things like that. Now the men don't have as much patience as we do as female. A woman can challenge me in what I'm teaching her, but when I teach her what I have to teach her, I ask her a few questions. If she can answer all the questions with the knowledge that I have, then she can challenge me. But if you can't answer even one of my questions, I ask you politely to be quiet. If you don't be quiet, I'll walk out. And that's just the way it is. So it's not that we don't do, we do. But the men become arrogant. The men, I mean, sometimes, a few times it almost became physical. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me this. I'm a man just like you. You know, the macho thing, all that stuff comes into play. And you find that our men, our older men now, the Bashichimbusas or Bashibukombe, they will pull back. But there's still one or two, I think, that I believe I know of here. But growing up, yes, in Zambia, it was both. It was balanced on both sides. But I specify most on what I do, because this is what I know on the Bashibukombe side is what I have heard.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Here's another question that we need to, because now it's fashionable. This presumably was looked as just to be like a Western culture thing, but we are seeing it happen in Zambia and Africa in general. Before a young man, now everybody is kneeling down, giving the ring to the girl. Will you marry me? So my question is, before a young man does that, asks a girl to say, will you marry me? And before the young lady says, yes, I will, with all the emotion and everything, what should have happened before they get to that stage?
Again, let me take us back a few centuries ago. Again, we're talking about Zambia. For those of you listening, my name is Sylvia Litana Robertson, and my title is Wanachimbusa, a woman who grooms and educates young ladies and prepares them for marriage. And even after you're married, I still groom and educate you. If you need my assistance, you call me and I go through with that. Now, that being said, in the olden days, when a man wanted to marry a woman, a lot has changed so much that sometimes I even get myself confused, because now we've incorporated the Nigerian way, the Ghanaian way, the Kenyan way. I mean, every way African has been really, I have made it my way. I have made it in such a way that it accommodates anybody who's of the African continent, because we do have cross cultures, but then we have one common denominator, which is, of course, you're going to get married. So in Zambia, the way it was, so I'm hoping it's still the same. When you want to get married as a man, you go tell your parents, your uncle, the Bashibukombe. I call him uncle for better terminology. Sometimes you go to your mom's brother, and tell your mom's brother, or if you have a grandfather, you go to the grandparents. In other words, you go to the hierarchical highest in your family, the male side of your family.
Okay.
You go and announce yourself, this is what I want to do. Okay. The grandfather sometimes will recommend, okay, let's go Uncle Nathan. He's a very good Vashichimbusa or Vashibukombe. Vashibukombe actually is called a go-between. There's a difference with Vashichimbusa now and Vashibukombe. Vashibukombe is a person who goes between the bride's family and the groom's family to take back messages back and forth, as well as to negotiate the bride price.
Okay.
This is very important. The reason that Bashibukombe is there is primarily to make sure that, if you were not married right now, and your father-in-law tells you, I'm going to charge you $10,000 for my daughter, or I'm going to ask you for 10 cows. You can't sit there and back and forth with your in-law, because we don't talk back to in-laws in Zambia. We never used to. It's only now that is like that. So the Bashibukombe, or the go-between, is the one who negotiates, takes your message from the female side to the male side and back and forth until everything, arrangements and things that have to be done have been agreed upon as a family. So then the Bashibukombe now will take a few older members from the man's side, the groom's side, and go to the female side. We bring a little plate that is about maybe this size, and there's one on top of the other, like that.
Yes.
And then we take a little handkerchief and we tie them in there, and we take that little bowl to the in-laws, to the female in-laws. So once we get to the in-laws will have been already alerted to say, we are bringing our little plate. We say, kuleta kambale, meaning we're bringing our little white plate to you.
Okay.
So the family of the bride is ready. Of course, the bride has to be there as well. I mean, in the house, in the vicinity. And it doesn't matter who is in the house, but it's the elders of the girl's family. Again, the father, if they're uncles, it's mainly a male-dominated shindig, so to speak. But in this day and age, we have modernized it to where women can sit there. Like, for example, myself, because of this cross-culture thing, when my daughters get married, they come straight to me, because there's nobody in between us, because they're from a different culture and we're from a different culture. But when we're in Zambia, of course, that kambale has to go to the female's home. So once they get to the female's home, of course, they will announce themselves. We're here because we've seen whatever. Our son, Jonathan Molenga here, says that he's seen a beautiful flower or beautiful bride that he would like to, to pluck from your home. And of course, it's up to the girl's side as well to respond and say whichever way they want to respond. Okay. Now, a lot of times, 99.999%, the family already knows that this man is coming, because the girl has told her mother, or has told her whoever is representing her to the groom, that she knows him. She knows Jonathan Molenga.
Okay.
But just as a formality, they'll call her out and they'll ask her, well, these people here are here, and they said they're here for your hand in marriage. So do we accept or do we not? And of course, she'll say yes. I've never had anybody say no. She'll say yes, and she'll say yes. And once the yes is said, then of course the formal introductions are made. This is Mr. So-and-so, so-and-so, Auntie so-and-so, Uncle so-and-so. And then now, of course, the preparations, again, are still conducted by Bashibukombe, where they will be now arranging for the wedding, or if they would like, they can do the engagement. A lot of them will do their own, like you said, traditional, not traditional, the advanced one, like the one you were saying where you go on the knee and all that stuff. Normally, we didn't do that. Just by accepting that plate, that was plenty. You're finished. In our Lamba tradition, once your dowry has been paid, you're as good as married. You can move into the man's house. I mean, I'm Lamba, so I base it from my culture. So once that is done now, and then now the deliberations are between the family. They now, but by the way, that plate is not the dowry. That's called a mouth opener. A mouth opener.
Okay.
Yes, that means.
So when you say mouth opener, I hope this addresses Roger's question. He says, "What is the significance of the two plates?" So when you say mouth opener, what are you saying?
In other words, you can, in our Zambian culture, you cannot just go and approach your in-laws. You cannot just knock on my door and say, "Mom, I'm here." No, because remember, before, my in-law and I could not stay in the same room. We could not eat from the same table. We could not sit in the same living room. You know that. The in-law would be sitting 10 meters away from me on the other side of the house, and I'll be sitting here. So that mouth opener is saying, it's like knocking on the door. Yeah, we're strangers to you. You don't know us, but we know you, and we would like to speak to you. So we need your permission to allow us into your house so that we can tell you, or we can bring you the good tidings that we have from our mouths, because you don't know what we're coming from. But of course we do know, but it's just the way it's done.
Okay. Before I bring in Kasuluva, he's got a question about young people. So this issue, I want everybody to understand, because like I said at the beginning, we've been away from home for a long time. We've forgotten these things. Our kids are growing up. So it's the parents' responsibility to find the Shibukombe, the Nachimbusas, and everybody. It's the parents.
Yes, usually it is, but in this day and age, some of our children, or let me say some of our nephews, they already have a favorite Uncle Roger. So, they'll go and tell favorite Uncle Roger, and if favorite Uncle Roger is in town, and of course he wants to be a part of it, he'll be the one to volunteer and say he's going to do it. But under normal circumstances in the villages, yes, the parents normally used to choose the Washibukombe because it was based upon credibility and merit. Is this man truthful, or is the man representing us from a good background, so to speak? You don't want to bring in a thief. You don't want to bring in a murderer. You don't want to bring in somebody with a bad reputation. You see what I'm saying? So the parents normally, yes, they would do that. But nowadays, I'm saying it's changing a little.
So even for the young lady's side, mom begins to prepare and begins to make arrangements for whatever needs to be done.
Absolutely. Now, on the woman, yes, it's a two-prong. Now, remember, some of our daughters don't have mothers, biological mothers who've given birth to them. Some of them have passed on, and some of them are probably not even in the United States. Excuse me. They may be in a different, excuse me, country or continent, right? So, like for me, I say I have 1,000,001 daughters. You see, a lot of these young girls already know what I do, but they will not approach me as well directly. They will go through Pastor Nkama's wife, because they know Pastor Nkama's wife is their pastor's wife, and she is a woman of repute. Mama Pastor, can you please speak to Auntie Sylvia for me, because I need a matron. Now, this is become Banachimbusa / matron, because now we become 2 in 1. The Banachimbusa is what I'm training her prior to her getting married, and grooming her and making sure that she's stylized by the time we're coming to the kitchen party and the wedding. Baby girl is ready. So yes, if the mothers are alive, if they're biological mothers or their guardian mothers, stepmothers, whatever person she calls mom, if they are alive, yes, they will normally prefer to choose their matron for their daughter, because they know these women's reputations. Now, in times like here in the United States, like I said, a lot of our daughters here do not have their mothers here. So they will come through a favorite auntie that they know to come and approach me. That's how it goes. It's just a small sign of respect that they give, because sometimes they come to me, "Oh, Auntie Sylvia, I would like you to do, okay, these are my fees." "Auntie, you're charging me too much." And then me and her get into a brawl. In the end, you think I want to train her? No, I'm not. I'm going to tell her, okay, go look for somebody else. So the go between is just to soften the landing for my acceptance to say, yes, I will do it for you. And yes, this is how much it's going to cost you. Now, before, we never used to charge these girls. And please follow me very, very closely. Before, the mom would just give a small token to the women who are coming to train her daughter. Now, follow me very carefully. It's critical that you understand this part. Now, within time, as we have, like you said, evolved now, we're beautiful swans and whatever else we were before. The girls, right? When you train them or you teach them what you teach them, guess what they were doing? Share it with every Mary and Sylvia and Dorica and everybody outside. Those are single girls. Once those single girls learn, trust me, they've got smoother waist than my grandma waist. They've got smoother, supple bones and stuff than my old grandma bones. You understand? You teach a 17, 18-year-old girl how to do whatever she's supposed to do for the husband or with the husband. Guess what? Many homes started getting broken because these foolish girls took out the taboo or the culture that we taught them or the things that we taught them and shared them with the outside. Now that broke me. For a long time, I stopped.
So they are not supposed to do that.
No, they're not supposed to share. So now when I charge them what I charge them, right? It's like, well, why am I going to tell her for free when I paid my whatever? You see what I'm saying? It wasn't so much that we want the money. This is just as a way to say, why should somebody get it for free when I paid for it? That's the only reason I do that. But before, as God is my witness, it was free. It was free, but then their mouths were running everywhere. And then these girls have the nerve to come back to me and say, well, when you told so-and-so what you taught her, she taught me too. So now I've taken Mrs. So-and-so his husband. Like, so that's something nice for me to be, happy about.
Oh, Lord. That's over.
And Sylvia, this show is so amazing. You know, before someone just came to my inbox and they were like, tag me. It's amazing. I want to take you back a bit. I want us to look at the younger men. You made mention to say usually when the girl child is growing up, some of these things are already in them. You know, the baby, the dolly rather here and there and things like that. But boys, it's different, or rather young men. Young men only get to start learning about this maybe when they're just about to get married, which is to some degree a bit too late. So then whose role is it to educate a boy child as regards some of these things, even as they are growing up, to say they need to be responsible in this way, in that way? Is it the fathers? Is it the mothers? Because, you know, when a boy child is growing up, they're only taught how to do the garden or how to, you know, spare parts and things like that. That's it. Or there will be, if there's going to be a boy outing, it's just going to be, okay, young boys, you need to be clean, you need to be smart, you need to clean your rooms, and that's it. So whose role is it?
All right, very good question, and I'm glad you asked that. Actually, I was gonna come back full circle on this one as well at the end. You know that in Zambia, discussing sex with your parents is taboo. I hope you gentlemen know that. Right, Charlie? Am I correct?
No, that's correct.
So even with the mama talking to the daughter about sex is taboo. It's never. I mean, it was never done, and it was never heard of. All right. So let me take you again to. Like I said, I'm cross culture. I come from 4 different countries. You know, my birth is this way and that way. But with the male child, when I was growing up, I remember growing up with about 9 uncles. Okay. My brothers, if they needed anything, my uncles took responsibility. My dad's brothers and my mom's brothers took responsibility of teaching my young brothers. And the reason that was like that is because, again, remember, we have a lot of different tribes and different herbs and different everything that, you know, we use as, how do I say it without what's the right word? Okay. As young women, there's certain things they give us to drink, to eat, to put, you know, in other places we can mention and stuff like that. You know, to juice you up, you know, to make you appetizing, so to speak, to the husband, right? The young men too do have their own things, and I am not going to discuss it because this topic got me into so much trouble, and I have a doctor in Zambia who's in trouble trying to scramble to send me the things that these men need. Okay, so I'm not going to get into that. So it's not the father's responsibility now. It's usually the uncles and the grandparents. I remember even as a girl, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, my grandma. Yes. So you would find that, you know, when they're telling stories around the fire, you know, what we call today fireside chat, you'd hear grandpa telling a metaphorical story. Not that the story is what he is saying, but there's a lesson that you are learning from that metaphorical story. You understand? Now, if you're a child, you will take it for what the grandpa or grandma is saying. But when you are an adult, you become a teenager, you start to say, no, 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 no. When she's saying the cucumber, she's not talking about cucumber. Or when she's talking about the apple, she's not talking about you start to put one and one together yourself. You see what I'm saying? Now, there were times like when you reach puberty, meaning when your voice breaks, and like the Luvales used to circumcise their boys. My nephew, some of my nephews are Luvale. That's how I know this. So they would get circumcised at that. I think it's between age 10 and 12, right? When the boys get when you break your voice. I don't know what you call that. So you found that I saw that my uncles took a keen interest in now what I'm going to call educating my boys, our nephews. You see what I'm saying? Now, there are other tribes that also do the same. I just don't know at what age they circumcise. Now, believe it or not, it has also come to my attention that a lot of Zambian men, you guys' age, have gone back to circumcision, because in Zambia, it was not every tribe at the time that was getting circumcised. Now, who is the best person to talk to you about circumcision other than your grandfather or your uncle? Because you can undress in front of them, but you can't undress in front of me as a woman or in front of your mama. You see what I'm saying? So the responsibility is upon the uncles, the extended family, and the grandfather or the grandparents. The grand on the men's side, if they're still alive, the men on the men's side, the grandparents. So that's who's responsible for the young men.
Awesome. That's very insightful, because really on the men's side, it's as though it's autopilot. Okay, you get there, and it's like it's a norm. It's life as usual.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually you're very right. It is autopilot. For some reason, you men, after you've become of age and you realize I'm a man, you start seeing your pubic hairs, you start hearing that big voice. I don't know if everybody breaks a big voice, but when you start noticing those let me call them symptoms, those symptoms of being a man or becoming a man.
Symptoms,
yeah, symptoms, right? Not characteristics, but symptoms. When you start seeing those symptoms of becoming a man, what you are very experimental. You men, naturally, the boy child is very experimental. And because you mix with so many of your, when I say boyfriends, meaning your playmates, that let me not use the word boyfriend, your playmates as you're playing. Yes, please. Boyfriend here means something different, so I retract. When you're with your playmates, because some of the playmates you have are older than you. You understand? They're never the same age with you. They're older than you. And those playmates may have more knowledge than you have. And you find yourselves all sitting down now, talking about girls and how this happened, and he's telling you his experiences. And because human being is naturally curious, you're going to ask questions, you're going to learn, you're going to listen. And then if there's something you don't understand, you always take it back home. Grandpa, this is what I heard. Uncle so-and-so, this is what I heard. You see what I'm saying? So clarity and navigation is done for you from that point.
Okay.
Excellent.
I
I throw in 1 cent. Good to have you again, Miss Yubi. Icupo Ne Nganda. You said you come from nearby. I don't know. When we were going to Kasempa, was always.
Fiwale, Fiwale.
Oh, you are.
Yes,
okay.
Rural.
So Icupo Ne Nganda, from the way we understood it, from the context you brought it to us, in other words, it means the marriage and how you keep it together.
Yes, correct.
Because you don't want just to marry and it's gone. So Icupo Ne Nganda, it is how you keep it together. And from your explanation, it is interesting to hear how only a woman, only a girl is thought about keeping the house together. The man, he can go around, but he can, if it is the members, they have all sorts of sayings. Oh, Sorry, remember they say, you know, when a man is adulterous, it doesn't break the home.
Yes.
But Icupo Ne Nganda, it is just meant for
hold on, Roger. You have to explain that saying that you said. Remember, we're catering to an international audience. The metaphor he used is saying when a man commits adultery, it does not break a home, as much as if when a woman commits adultery, it will break a home. That's what that metaphor meant. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Now I'm confused.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So it seems that responsibility back in time, it was for the woman.
Yes.
Question is that still true today?
Yes and no. Let me quantify it. I mentioned earlier on to say, in the olden days, when the woman stayed home and was a homemaker, yes, and yes, it was. Because all she did is stay home, clean her home. Well, if she had a well-to-do husband, maybe you have a housemaid, you have a houseboy and things like that, right? But still, your ultimate job as a wife was to make sure that home was taken care of when hubby came home. You understand? So today's way, believe it or not, sometimes by God's grace, some of the men do come to me, the grooms, the young grooms that you know are about to get married, or the young lads that are wanting to propose. Sometimes they'll come to me and they'll pick my brain. They'll give me a call, Auntie, can I talk to you? Auntie, can we Zoom? Auntie, can whatever. But I do avail them my time. They have a lot of unknown questions or a lot of unknown scenarios that they have been privy to, that they don't know how to handle, and they're scared to get into marriage because, well, I saw my friend so and so, this what happened, my uncle so and so. And you see, when you're living by examples of the wrong examples, it does make you very afraid to commit to being into a marriage, because you believe that what happened to Uncle Roger and Uncle Thomas and Uncle John is going to be the same with me. So I said no, because today, if I have a husband, I go to work, he goes to work. But Roger, you work, your wife works, right? I don't think when you get home, your expectations are to find, the house should be spick and span from the beginning. But let me just use that as an example. You come home, you are a man who is so extra clean, because some of you men do become extra clean, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I love it. But you come home and you find that she took off her wig and she left it on the freezer somewhere. You know to say, and she knows you don't like that, but because she's so tired, she's not thinking. Guess what? You take issue with that. Why is your wig on my fridge? Now it's your fridge. It's not our fridge. It's your fridge. It's your fridge. Why is there a wig on my fridge? And I don't like blah, 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 blah. The commonality here is, I'm not going to say 50-50 in a literal sense, but it's got to be a give and take. Because both of us leave home, whatever time it is that we leave home, is it 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock to go home? You may even come back home sooner than your wife. She may come after you. Why don't you also show that grace? Why don't you also show that love? Let her find a good meal. Let her find a clean house. If she slapped her wig on the fridge, pick up the wig and take it upstairs and come and tell her, baby, next time, please don't leave the wig on the fridge. Don't make it into a wahala where you guys start, pulling at each other. So in today's marriages, it has to be what I call a camaraderie-ship marriage. You see what I'm saying? Let's hold hands. You tug this way, I tug that way. If it's too hard, we'll tug together so that we get it accomplished. Our way. This is our home. So that's why I said yes and no.
Okay, so perfect. And this goes to my next question. Again, Icupo Ne Nganda. It is very, very heavy, I think, when we discuss this topic on sex, especially when they are talking to a young girl.
Yes.
I've never sat in those briefings. You're going to tell us what you tell them.
No, not everything.
Roger, She can't say that one.
You are going to tell us what you tell them, and please let us know. One of the things we hear, they are taught back home, you cannot say no.
Absolutely. True.
When
True, and true. Yes.
Yes, when your husband, from the example you've given, fridge, all of you are tired, all of you, how does that one play out? Is it always is it a 50-50, or when the man wants sex has to happen?
Thank you very much for that question. So I'm going to tiptoe around that question. I'm not going to go for the gusto.
We will go also in the closed room for that.
Yes, we were groomed, or we were taught, and I still teach it the same way, like you said, Roger. That is very correct. 10,000% correct. Now, the reason we have taught our children, our young ladies, to never say no is this. Now, let's take it back a few centuries ago. Then I'll bring you back to today. Again, all the women did in those days was stay home. Some of us women would be in the garden. Some of us women would just be homemakers. Some of us women would be seamstresses. Some of us women, whatever we were doing at home when our husbands were quote unquote allegedly working. All right. When you come home as a wife, you always made sure you beat your husband to the house. Get home before he gets to the house. So when you are home, the first thing that you always think about as a mother is to nurture your family, nurture your husband, and nurture your children. You understand? Follow me very carefully. So when I'm dressed in the house, that is the only platform where I can be whoever I want to be, including that fantasy prostitute I saw wearing this lingerie and she flipped over the chandelier upside down. I can do that in my house because it's between me and my husband. You understand? So when your hubby comes home, we are clean, we're looking sweet. Who are we looking clean and sweet for? First of all, yourself, of course. And then second, to attract the husband. Always thinking in the mind that when I'm doing this, it's stopping my husband from looking for other women outside. It was a naive way of thinking, but that was the pathway, the tunnel vision that we had at the time.
Yeah, that was naive.
Yeah, it was very, very naive. But it kept us in check as women, and it also kept us on our toes to make sure that we maintain the status quo. Now, yes. Let me ask you a question right now. All three of you. If you have a wife, not your wives, but let's just take it out of your marriages, but just generalize the question. If you have a wife and you come home, Monday, you want to make love, she says no. Tuesday, you want to make love, she says no, I got a headache. Wednesday, I got a backache. Thursday, I got a toothache. Friday, I got a hairache. I mean, there's always an excuse. What happens to your needs as men? Well, of course, the first thing you want to do is to go look for somebody to release yourself, correct?
Probably.
There's an underlying issue
Hold
that needs
on.
to be addressed.
I'm coming.
Okay.
Again, it was taboo for Zambian men to jack off. I'm sorry I have to use that word, but I'm going to use it. It was taboo. They were saying you're killing the children. How do you know that those you're jacking off are not the only kids God has given you? You see what I'm saying? So with that in mind too, as men, you wanted to make sure you made love to your wives. Now, here I am as a woman. My husband wants to make love today, Monday. Tuesday, no. Wednesday, no. The whole week I'm saying no. The whole month I'm saying no. What the heck do I expect him to do? He's going to leave me, as old as I am, and go look for an 18-year-old. That would turn him, he'd turn his life upside down. So if my husband starts going out as much as he does, whose fault is it for? I'm the one who said no. I'm the one who said, don't touch me. I got a headache. I got a toothache. I got a neck ache. I got a hairache. I got everything ache when I don't even have none of the above. So My grandmother has had a saying to say "mupele chanuma." In other words, if you as a woman are not in the mood to make love, men are much more to that way than women are. A woman can stay without sex for a few 5, 6, 7, 15, 20 years. I know women have stayed celibate for 25 years now. I don't know what the duration for a man is, but they say give him your back. Let him take what he wants to take. It's not going to take anything off of your plate. He's going to have your fill with you. Next thing is he'll flip over. You'll start snoring. You get up, clean yourself, and you sleep. You haven't lost anything. He's happy. He's gotten what he wanted, right? He's not going to leave your house and go look for sugar mama Sylvia out there who's always ready and willing, or sweet 16 Sylvia who's always there looking for somebody who to devour and who to have sex with. So yes, that's what we were taught to say. Pastor Nkama agreed with me to say it was a naive way of thinking, but it kept us straight. That way of thinking kept the men straight, and it also kept women straight, even though the men still straight, but it wasn't so rampant until the generation of our fathers came by. That was a totally different status altogether.
Okay,
Is that
those
still
of you
true
watching, listening,
I'm sorry?
let's hear your views on this. You can post on the forum and
Yeah.
we shall share them with Miss Sylvia. And we don't want to dwell so much on this. We have a lot of things to talk about, and of course, time is running out. One thing I wanted us to discuss or dwell with Auntie Sylvia is the issue of children.
Yes.
Why is it important that the couple should talk about? Should the couple talk about how many kids they should have before they get married?
Yes. In this society, in the Western world, yes. In Africa, no. We never did, because remember, a village raised the still do the same. When I go home to Zambia and I can't get into my sister's house, I find little kids that I don't even know, but they know me very well. Grandma Sylvia, I'm like, how my grandma? Who's your mom? Who's your dad? Then when they tell me, then I know who they are. It's a very beautiful thing for me, because when I see 6, 7 little children playing in at the yard, and I'm like, this is all my family. And by the way, we're the oldest with my oldest sister. I'm the second born, out of my father's side there were 11, my mother's side there were 11. So we're their generation of the oldest children. In the Western world, it's always good to talk about how many children, because it's very expensive here. Not only is it expensive for you as an individual to live here, or as an individual to take care of yourself. You have mortgage. Anything you own in the United States is not yours. Everything is financed. House is mortgage. Phone, car is financed. Whatever furniture we're buying, everything is financed. In Zambia, when you say I own a house, you have bought $180,000 cash. When you say I own a car, you have bought $20,000, $30,000 that Bima. You don't own no note on that. So you know that at the end of the month, if I'm making $500, that $500 is just for food, maintenance, and A, B, and C.
Now sorry to cut you short. There's this argument, Kasulula, you can jump in here if you want to. The reason I bring this up is you always find a situation where a couple get into this thing. Us men who say no until we have a boy, if you have 2 girls or 3 girls. The ladies, if you have 3 boys, they'll say, I want my princess to do her hair and all that. So how do you deal with that situation?
There's always
Should we bring in Chimbusa and Chimbusa here?
No. That one
that's a big issue.
No, that does not require Chimbusa and Chimbusa. And the reason I'm going to say that is this. All right. Supposing you have 1 boy and 1 girl, do you stop there? Because you want the boy, she wants the girl, and vice versa. Or she wants the boy, you want the girl. There's some daddies who want a little girl first. So if you have a boy and a girl, I'm asking you guys, are you going to stop having children? No, you're not.
It depends on what we agreed on when we got married.
That's what we're saying.
Yes.
So it's answering your own question. Because there are some, I had 4 daughters. There was never a time I was trying for a boy. I had 4 daughters. God blessed me with 4 beautiful young ladies. Thank God all of them are still alive. They're now married except 1. There was never a time my husband and I argued. We just said we want kids. That was it. Yeah, we want kids. So whatever God gives us is what God gave us. Now, if, let's say, for example, my husband was adamant about saying, I want to have a boy or I want to have boys. How many kids will I have ended up with? 15, like my grandmother, my grandmother's in those.
Exactly the point.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly the
So
point.
sometimes we have to use common sense. Sometimes common sense is not so common because we're so stuck in what we're thinking we want. But come to think about it, the girl child is just as valuable as the boy child.
My last question on the children, issue of children, before Roger and Kasulova comes in. There is this issue of if, for example, we have, Gladys and I have two girls. My friend Roger, between him and my sister, they have a son. There is the issue, Auntie Sylvia, and you know this. There is the issue of family saying, "Imwana, come off here." Okay, don't understand Bemba meaning. This is a strong issue in the African culture to say.
I've been told that.
You hear that? For our non-Zambian colleagues, what we are saying is if you only have one child, your extended family will be like, you can't just have one. You know, things. So how should we deal with situations like that? There's a reason Roger and my sister have one child. That's what they want.
True. That is so true. You know, there was a point I also didn't understand why people only could have one or two children until I had children myself.
Uh-huh.
So some of my sisters or our girl children,
yes,
have medical issues that stem from them not continuing to have children, and even maybe the husband. You understand?
Yes.
In today's world, we have so many diseases. Some diseases that they call their names, I don't even know how to pronounce them, but they do affect you as a couple, or they do affect you as an individual. But one thing you have to realize is you are not there to please the world. This is my philosophy, and this is what I believe in. When you have a child or you have children, it's not up to you. It's God that blesses you. Ask those, Baroja, those people who are asking you why you have one child. Tell them to write a letter to God on your behalf. Maybe God will give you another one. Because when God makes you in a certain way, or when God makes your life in a certain way, some things we can alter and some things we can't, especially when it comes to children. I have known some young ladies who have almost died on the birthing table because the husband's threatening divorce. If you don't give me another child, and okay, they have, like, say for example, 3 boys, and the daddy is so desperate he wants a little girl. She goes ahead and has the little girl, gives birth to the little girl, and she dies. What have you accomplished? She dies on the birthing table because you, the family, you were putting pressure on this couple. You don't know why they've only had one, and you don't know why they've only had 2, and you don't know why they had 4 or why they had 10. Having more children does not mean your life is going to change or become better or worse or anything. You know, this is just what God's gift is. God gives us those gifts.
Awesome. Quick question, Aunt Sylvia.
Yes.
2 parties, a young man, a young woman, are coming together, coming into marriage rather. One party has never been really educated. I'll assume it's the young man in this case, but then it could be the young lady as well. So one party has only gotten that education when they're about to get married, meaning that it could easily wane away because it's only for that particular period. How can the two be on the same page? How can they get to be on the same page when they get into marriage?
You're talking about the marital education, right? Not the academic.
Yes,
correct?
the marital education. Yes,
Okay,
how to
excellent.
handle the home and all.
All right, excellent. Again, I throw this back on the Bashichimbusa and Vanachimbusa. I mentioned earlier on to say some of these young maidens have brought me their men because the men have requested to talk to me as well. You've taught my wife, I know my wife said, I mean, my wife to be, not my wife at that time, but you've taught my wife to be, excuse me, you've taught my wife to be a few things that she says will be of benefit to me. So what can I learn from you as well so that I'm pleasing to my wife? Some of them are very shy. When they ask me, literally, they're like this. They can't even look at me, but that's okay. At least you verbalize it and you bring it out. I am always willing, ready, and able to talk to both sexes, both the man and the woman. And by the way, my mouth is very raw. I call a spade a spade. I'm only beating about the because I'm catering to an international audience. But when I have you one-on-one, actually, I even demonstrate to you or for you what you're supposed to be doing or what the needs are in that relationship to make it work, or at least a semblance of making it work. And I pray that once you're taught, I have some other Banachimbusas actually that I referred to. I don't know if I should mention their full names, but I can mention just two by the first name. One is Lillian and one is Margaret. You understand? These are dynamic Manachimbusas. When they teach you, trust me on this one. Trust me. If your marriage fails, it's because you didn't try yourself. Because we give it our all. We give you all the tools. We give you all the knowledge and the understanding for you, and we leave our doors wide open for you to call us with any issues, to call us with any questions. Do you know that I'm not going to mention the name? I had a couple who were both virgins. All right. I think the boy was 25, the girl was 23, or vice versa. But anyway, I know they were not above 25. On the wedding night, the should I call him a man? 25 is a man, right? Okay. On the wedding night, the 25-year-old man calls me and says, "Auntie, we just finished the wedding." And I was at their wedding. I was inside the wedding. He kept calling my phone, and I'm asking, why is he calling my phone? He should be, enjoying himself. But in the end, I walked out. And he says, "I don't know what to do." I said, "What do you mean you don't know what to do?" And they had never told me they were both virgins. I just assumed, the children of nowadays, we go here, we go there, we're open already anyway. Don't you know I had to go to their room? I had to physically go to their room, and I had to take a man with me, an older guy I respected. I said, "Okay, I cannot touch the man. You can go and touch him and show him how we need to do this thing." Now, a light bulb went off in me. I'm like, oh my goodness. All these things I teach, I'm assuming that they already know. So I changed my dynamics just a little bit. I made a little right turn just to make sure that, now when they're going into that bedroom, right, the demonstration or the illustration is given to them so that they see the visual from me and they can ask me questions right there and then of what they don't understand.
Final comment. The stuff I think you've talked about, Miss Sylvia, you were trying even to go deeper. I saw Nathan running away from it very quickly. Oh, we don't want to dwell on that. That's what made Icupo Ne Nganda.
Yes.
Not what people say about Osaka, Shan. It was you guys going deeper inside the home when only two of you. Give us the conclusion. I'm closing for Nathan. Maybe give us.
We'll go another 5 minutes. Today we are not doing 5-10 minutes more.
Yeah. Give us in form of a conclusion in today's world. The understanding of a man. You gave an example of ichi. What should a man do, or a couple? How do they come to understanding? Comes to cooking. Maybe again the woman is told you're supposed to cook well. Maybe she doesn't cook that well. Tell us the understanding of both the man and the woman. Maybe a man is a good cook. What some of these areas? Maybe you can also touch on the money. It is a big issue which breaks marriages. On the money. What should be the understanding?
The understanding in a relationship, I had used the word compromise earlier on. And the reason I use the word compromise is because you are so correct. The man I was married to, my late husband, was a very good cook. He was an excellent cook. He was an excellent housekeeper. He was educated. He had his master's degree. He had everything that we needed, to survive as husband and wife. As all of you know, I'm a very talkative person, but my husband was very quiet. You start an argument with him, he'll take a newspaper, he'll start reading in the paper while I'm running my mouth. And the next thing, when he doesn't hear anything, he'll go, "Are you done?" And yeah, I'm done. Then he'll fold up his paper, put it on the side and say, "Now go put on that little red dress I bought you for Christmas. Let me take you out to dinner." Now that made me feel so stupid because I've been running my mouth talking to myself because he's not listening to me. He doesn't want no wahala. So you know what ended up happening? I had to compromise. I had to stop this running of my mouth. I just wanted a fight with him, not because he did anything wrong, but I wanted to hear him talk because he was so quiet. He didn't do anything wrong. So women, sometimes we're just full of wahala because we know we can do it. We want to get your attention in one form or another. Now, that's one other thing about you men. Let me attack the men a little bit. I know the screen's gonna light up, but that's okay. I have my boxing gloves on for you guys today. So here's what I'm gonna say about this. You know how you men, there's this macho thing in you. It's innate. You guys were born with it. God made it that way. There is nothing wrong. There's nothing about your manhood that's going to change if you tell your wife, I love you 10,000 times a day. Or if you even just kiss your wife, not on the cheek, on the mouth, even on the forehead, it's very, very endearing. It makes us feel so nice. There is nothing wrong with you going behind your wife and putting your arms around her whenever she's doing whatever she's doing and telling her, whispering to her, I love you. There is nothing wrong with you when your wife is washing her hair. You go and help her wash her hair. It's not a man thing. You're not going to become feminine. You are giving her that undivided attention. You understand? It's the small things that you guys, it's not the big cars you buy us and the big houses. No, you can buy me a big house for all you can. I'll be driving 10,000 Beamers, Maybachs and all that stuff outside. But if my home is not together, if my home is not together, those things out there don't mean nothing to me. This is when you find now the woman in bed, when you want to make love to her, she'll tell you, no, you've ignored me all day long. What type of affection have you given me? What type of assurance have you given me? It doesn't matter if you've been married to the woman 20, 50, 60, 70, 76 years. That little slight attention you give me, trust me, men, it makes a whole lot of drastic difference in your relationship with your wife. You will find that even the things she was rigid on before, she starts to taper down and to try to meet you halfway. The money part. One part I've never understood is this. If a husband is working and the wife is at home, all's well. The husband will spoil her. The husband will do this. She will do everything for him because she knows now my husband is the only breadwinner and stuff like that, right? Home is very peaceful. But now let's flip the coin and he loses the job and she's working. Lord have mercy. I have seen it all. I really don't understand this phenomena. And I'm hoping maybe somebody can also put in the comments and help me understand this part. My belief is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If for the past 15, 20 years, your husband has been working and you've been a homemaker, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you because being a homemaker is a full-time job in itself. You're taking care of the kids, you're keeping the house clean, you got to go grocery shopping, you got to do homework, you're soccer mom, you're baseball mom, you're everything mom. So technically you do have a job, okay? And I appreciate you for loving your husbands the way you do and the children. But why is it women that when our husbands lose their jobs, we become demons? Oh, you're useless, good for nothing. Oh, you go get a job. All you're doing is just sitting here and polluting my house. Why do we treat our husbands like that? It's not supposed to be like that, women. My ladies and sisters, I'm imploring you, stop it. Stop. You have absolutely no right to abuse your husband because he's lost his job. You have absolutely no right to call him all those sorts of names. What happened to the 30 years he was taking care of you when you were a homemaker? Now you've gone through school. You've become educated. Yes, you have your master's. You have your PhD. So now you think you're God's king on earth in your house. No, you're not. The man will always be the head of your household. Treat those men with respect. And even if you're making more money than that man, guess what? It's our money. Not my money as Sylvia because I'm making $250,000 a year and my husband is only making 35. Whose name? Who has whose name, by the way? At the end of the name, who has whose name? Does he carry your last name? No, he doesn't. I carry the last name of his. You understand? He's Miss Richardson. I become Miss Richardson. He does not become Mr. Litana. No, you become him. You assume his name. So give these men that respect and your lives and your homes will be a much, much happier. It is our money, even if I'm making 250,000 and my husband is not. And stop being stingy. When you say I do or I did at that altar, that means that that body that you carry, this body, this temple is his. When he wants me, let him have me. When you want him, let you have him. Stop putting men in such a precarious positions where we force them to go out of the house because he wants sex and we are not giving. Well, guess what? If you mistreat your husbands, right, and they come looking for a sugar mommy, I'm going to advertise myself. And once they come to me, they're never coming back to you. Let me assure you of that one. They will never come back to you. So stop it.
No, they're gonna do better. We're gonna do better. Both needs to do better. Both needs to, let's end with this. We've gone beyond a few minutes because this is the only show we have today. We could only do one segment due to circumstances beyond our control. Everybody watching, commenting, please just share this on your page, your social media platforms, and let everybody watch and listen to what Auntie Sylvia, the punches she's throwing here.
The grenades.
The grenades she's throwing. Let's end with this. We are in the diaspora. We are in the diaspora, Auntie Sylvia.
Yes.
And my daughter comes to me and says, hey, Dad, this guy, whatever. Well, first of all, she doesn't know. I'm assuming this is a discussion. I'm not saying. She comes to me and says, hey, there's somebody interested in me. Or Roger's son goes to him and says, I'm interested in a girl. Musawa's son goes to him and says, I'm interested in a girl. I can go on the list of our friends and all that. What should be our reaction, those of us in the diaspora?
All right. First and foremost, you parents are very judgmental. Let me first put that out there. When our children bring, let me use an example of a child with tattoos, right? Or maybe dreadlocks or those big rings and the black and whatever, right?
Yeah,
the first thing you're going to say is, hell no.
Not in my house.
Not in my house.
Wow.
All right. So that was just off the cuff.
I know. My mother Chapoloko would say, "Ngo you."
Yeah, no, actually, the right way to do this is this. If the children come to you, because remember, in this country, we don't have, like I said, the grandchildren. Or Mrs. Chaboloko is laughing. She
Yes, yes.
In this country, like we have, right? We have made ourselves an extended family now, to where you listen to them, and of course, the first question you're going to ask is who is the partner that you have found, and whether it's a man or a woman. And thereafter, of course, you involve your wives. Here, it's all men. You involve your wives. Okay, your daughter came to me and she says she's bringing John Brown, and she wants to get married to him, or my son John wants to marry Sylvia. So can you please call Vanachimbusa for me? You have the right to do that. So what we do as Vanachimbusa is this. I had 3 brides lied to me that the men had proposed to them, by the way. Just a short scenario why I'm saying what I said. Mm-hmm. I went ahead and started preparing without consulting anybody. I took the bride's word, or with the 3 brides. It's 3 different times, and 3 is a charm. So I stopped doing that now. The brides come to me and say, oh, my boyfriend proposed, just because he said, I'm thinking of us getting married next year. So the girl is like, okay, he has proposed. How is that a proposal? So stupidly enough, I went around, got the stuff, invited people. I ended up with each, the first 2 bridal showers of 400 people. The last one, I caught her in the act because I went and I asked the man, I said, why am I doing a bridal shower and the man is not involved at all? And she always had an excuse why the man wasn't involved in the bridal shower making. They technically are not involved, but he has to also have a say-so in what's going on. Okay, we're having the venue here and we want you to come here. We want you to bring your people and stuff like that. So for me, when our children announce, I always ask them, bring your partner here to my house, to me, to see me. I want to see the person with my own korokoro eyes.
Now, this is the the Nachimbus are doing this and the Shichim and the Washichimbus, all right? Not
No,
with that.
no. That's you. This is a different culture. This here is a different culture. When the child first announces to you, you have the right to demand for them to bring that person to you to see with your own eyes. You cannot call me and say, oh, my son is getting married. Who is he marrying to? Who is he or she getting married to? I need those details first because I do my own due diligence too. When you call me and say, oh, your niece is getting married and the boyfriend's name is John Brown. Okay, I have my own little black book, by the way. So I go into that phone and I start, where does John Brown live? Okay, he lives in Indianapolis. I call 20, 30 people in Indianapolis. I'm looking for this boy, John Brown. If nobody knows him, I send that person to the house. I send one of my people to the house. Go visit him and, just tell him that, you're related to the girl that you're about to marry. I have my way that I do this, so I'm not going to give it away right here. So that we know that that person is of good substances, of good background, of good everything. No murderers, no rapists and stuff like that. So once you, as a parent, establish for true, there is a spouse to be, then now you have the right to call Bana Chimbusa or Chimbusa and let them know to say, okay, your daughter has brought me a man or your son has brought me a woman. And this is now, we need your help. That's how I do it here. It's for safety's sake because before I did it the Zambian traditional way, but I told you I got burned 3 times where these 3 young ladies lied to me and said the men had proposed when the men had never proposed to them. So the safety in this whole relationship is making sure that for sure there is a couple, there is a boy and there is a girl standing, together as a husband and wife.
Okay. But to Nathaniel's question, Monsieur, it's like we are not even having this discussion with our children. If you follow what Nathan was saying, if my son comes with a story, oh, what should I do? Where we are, according to the way you explained to us back home, we had uncles talking to the young man. We had I remember when I think I was very young. Grandma was telling me about these things, how I should be a man enough, and stuff like that. So we were being taught. Now, here we are, voila, only me, I'm the uncle, the father, the grand. We are not. I guess before they even bring that discussion, what should be our discussion be?
I hear you. Okay, I missed that point. I hear you. Yeah, very true. That's a very big concern. Considering the society that we have or the societies that we're living in today, I think it's just right you as a father to talk to the son. There's nothing wrong because here, when you talk about sex, it's open. It's not like back home where it's taboo and you can't discuss sex with your son. They teach them sex education in school, especially those that are born and raised here or those that came at a very young age. They teach them sex education. So it's not like it's something that's going to embarrass you. It may be uncomfortable as a parent, yes. If you feel uncomfortable, this is where we come in.
Okay.
Tell him, call Auntie Sylvia or call Uncle so-and-so because we act as your buffer between you and the children or between you and your sons and daughters. That way you are not put in an awkward position where you're saying things that you're not even comfortable with or you're not even knowledgeable enough to give him, the nurturing or the information that he needs. This is where we come in. And like I said, I mentioned 2 other Banachimbusas, Lillian and Margaret, and I know you all know who Margaret is as my big sister. But, we do tend to fall into that gap and foster what we have to do between you and the children. Normally, when we train them in that manner, we let you know what we have discussed with them. I would call you and I'll tell you, okay, my son called. This is the conversation we had. Sometimes I'll even tell them I'm recording the conversation. And if there's a recording, I'll send you the conversation so you know what I discussed with your children or with your daughter or your son. We're here for that. We're here for that.
It's important. So it's very important. Now we are a little bit more, I'll use the word structured as a community in the United States, Canada, wherever you are. We have associations, right?
Yes.
So it's important for us to identify. I know the strength and thrust has been on the women, Banachimbusa, but the men also, shouldn't we step up, Auntie Sylvia? Shouldn't we identify who are the men who can do this and who can do whatever needs to be done?
Yes, the unfortunate part is the ones that I have worked with. Some of them have gone back home. They've gone back to Zambia, and I personally, if I had to, if I had to right now look for those men, I would
Mm,
first of all approach my clergy, because there's a lot of clergy that I have a lot of high respect for. I have seen their marriages. I have seen how they admonish. I have seen how they encourage. I have seen how they build. And I have seen how they break what is not right. So, yes, yes, and yes. This would be a welcome initiative for us to have the men, so that our boy child is not left
mm,
behind, like you rightfully said, because they are behind. And this is why you find, even when they marry the woman, there's so many wrongs they do, not realizing they're doing wrongs, not of their fault of their own, but because of the way the society is. So, yes, I am ready. I am prepared to talk to any young man out there. It doesn't matter what your age is. I'll still call you young, even if you're 20 years older than me. I'll still call you young. But we are here for you, and we will be able to educate you, or work with you, or hold your hand, so that, yeah, actually, this is a very good question. I think one of my daughters, or one of my extended daughters, asked me a question and said, "Mom, why is it that everything is done for men and nothing is done for us? And some of the stuff we do for our husbands, they don't even understand what we're doing or why we're doing what we're doing."
mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they're expecting a certain response from the boy, I mean, from their men or from their husbands, but yet when the man doesn't respond that way, they get frustrated. But mom, I
Yeah.
did everything you asked me to do, and I mean, he didn't do this and he didn't do that, and now it's hard for me to go in and jump into the marriage unless they come to me. When they come to me, it makes it easier for me. So when one of the spouses complain, I don't listen to you. If you have issues, I expect both of you to call me on the same call. If you call me, mom, he did this and that, I'll say, okay, call me when he's home, and I'll hang up on you. Now, sometimes I even fly to your house. I'll spend time with you in your home if there's issues in the house.
Mm,
I've done that many times. Sometimes I'll even just visit you without announcing I'm coming, just so that I see if the principles that we have taught you on marriage you're carrying out. If you're having a nasty house, you're having a nasty attitude towards your husband. Some of them, I'll be outside the door and I'll hear them yelling and screaming from the fourth floor, screaming at their husbands and stuff. So, yes, yes, and yes, we need to educate our sons. We need to educate our boy child, so that they can also be on the same page with their wives and enjoy, the home Icupo Ne Nganda, so that
mhm.
they can enjoy that house and build it together, not with straw, but with mortar, so that no matter how strong the wind is or the storm, it will still weather it. It'll
It
still
will still
stand.
be
Yes.
understand, yeah. Everybody, I hope you got something. It was just a teaser to provoke you, like Roger said, for us to start a conversation with our children in the home. And some of us have even forgot. There's a lot to talk about on this. It's not exhaustive. We don't claim to be experts. The idea is to provoke a conversation going between you and your children and your wife. And I hope our community leaders have also picked something. Before we say thank you to our guest, my next subject in a few weeks, Auntie Sylvia, will be, are all African traditions or customs demonic?
Sounds good. Sounds very good. We'll be there.
Yeah, we will need to talk about that. There are a lot of things that we do as people, and some of us Pentecostals, we are told, no, don't do that. Okay, thank you, Auntie Sylvia, for taking the time, for waking up early in the morning
Thank
for
you,
me.
Miss Sylvia.
I
Thank you.
feel we feel
Thank
very
you,
special
gentlemen.
for you to do
Yeah.
this.
Thank
Everybody,
you,
that was
gentlemen.
our show today. Your final comment, please, before we go.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that those of you who have been listening and those of you who've come on late, I am a bit available for your services. I do marriage counsel. I am a life coach as well. So for those of you who have some issues in your marriages, I am also thinking of putting together what I call a marriage couples convention, as well as a singles convention. I've already gotten a lot of people that have already started calling me and talking to me about this. I have not decided what state yet and what month, because I'm scheduled to travel to the continent quite a bit this year. But as soon as I get that done, we will do this, and together we will do this. So I don't know if Pastor Nkama has given up my phone number, but for those of you who'd like to get in touch with me, I'm at 615 572 5306. I'll repeat, 617-572-5306. And those of you who want to call me or write to me on my email, it's SHILUNDA, Shilunda at yahoo.com, Shilunda at yahoo.com. So those of you singles who are looking to pair up with somebody, hit me up so that when the time comes, when the time comes, we can get you hooked up. And those of you who are married and are having, I'm not saying every marriage is having issue, even those who just want to fraternize with other couples, you can come and join us. And it's not free because I have to pay for the hall, I have to pay for your food. So those of you who are thinking I'm going to give it out free, we need the money so that we can get you guys together.
There's nothing for free. Thank you, Mrs. Karabasis. Mrs. Karabasis.
Gladys, thank you very much.
Thank you, special.
Good afternoon,
everybody. That was our show today. Join us again next week. And some good news. Some good news before we go. I've got information that the Zambians, there was a group of Zambian students who were like trying to get to the border of Poland. They managed to cross from Ukraine. So we thank God for that. They are safe. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.